Welcome back to Crystal Clear. I'm Vox, and here we are. The second to last press images we'll ever get for the Steven Universe franchise. Next week, we'll get the press images for the episodes that make up the series finale, and that'll be all she wrote. So, something that was so long running on this channel since the very beginning, since the moment I started covering Steven Universe, it's over. Like again, after next week, we're done. Now, it's not like it's the last time I'm ever gonna have press release images to break down. Of course, on this channel, we also cover shows like The Owl House, Infinity Train, She-Ra, which is also ending soon, and now that Steven is ending, I'll be able to give all of those shows more attention, proper attention that I've always wanted to give, and I'm excited to flex more of my animation brain beyond Steven. Exciting times, sad that Steven is ending, but exciting times nonetheless. With all that said, these are the promo images for Mr. Universe and Fragments, and if you're coming to this video having already seen the images, then you already know I am very excited. But for everyone else, because I'm just going to be speculating and theorizing from the jump, I want to issue a spoiler warning. If you do not want to know any potential plot points of Steven Universe future beyond what's been released, please click off now. With all that said, let's dive in. So just like last week, we have not been provided with an official synopsis for either of these episodes, so I'm assuming they're keeping that up until the end. In Dreams and Business Casual had a synopsis release, but I think that's just because, oh, it was the week the show is returning. So with that logic, the finale could go either way. Either they're going to keep us completely in the dark, we get the press images, but absolutely no synopsis, no descriptions, or they'll actually give us the summaries just like in the good old days. Because it is the end, it is a large-scale event, and because of recent events in the real world, they have the possibility of many more viewers tuning in for the end. Speaking of which, stick around till the end of this video because I do want to talk about Homeworld Bound and what could happen with that episode now that the movie screening is no longer happening, and that of course was the episode that was going to be shown with the screening. Will Kaitrin still try to generate buzz with this episode ahead of the finale? But we're not quite there yet. Let's get this breakdown moving, and I actually want to start with an image that was released today, the second press image for Mr. Universe. Now this time around we got 2 images from a Variety article and 2 images from Comic Book, so the order they were released into the public may not exactly match the order the scenes happen in the episodes. So going off my best bet, I want to start with this image of Steven in a seemingly brand new environment. He's wearing a blue puffer coat, which of course reminds me of the pink one he used to wear in the original series. Of course he's older, he has to get a new coat, and I feel like the blue is likely a nod towards the light blue, which he rocked out in the movie and that I miss dearly. Like, I get it. Steven needs his own shirt for the movie and he needs his own shirt for future, but I missed the light blue. Now Steven is seen smiling at knickknacks that I believe remind him of Steven Jr., these tiny goat figurines. Steven, even in his current state, is going to be a sucker for all things cute, so I can't say I'm too surprised. Also, the mounted spoon collection is very much tripping me out because obviously the color of the jewels embedded into them are the exact same colors of the Diamond Authority: yellow, blue, white, and pink. Now, I can't tell if this is actually going to be addressed in the episode that like, oh, this reminds me of the diamonds, and Steven starts glowing pink, or if it was just a neat background detail they decided to go for. It would not be out of the norm for this series. While Future hasn't done it as much, they did that a lot in the original series, just having background objects and color schemes that were reminiscent of the diamonds that ultimately just kind of serve us to look cool and remind us of their existence. But judging by the lamppost and doll, it feels as if Steven's in an environment with a lot of antiques. And going off the title Mr. Universe, I believe this could be one of 2 things. One, Steven and Greg are on a road trip. Maybe Greg decides to take Steven on tour with them, or if Greg left a tour to be with Steven, which makes plenty of sense, he'd want to be there for his child, then maybe they're still on a trip and they decide to stop at an antique shop. Or another possibility I'm totally down for that I've seen thrown out there already is the chance that Steven is actually in the space of another relative. Maybe it's Greg's parents and we finally get to meet more of the DeMeo family. This makes a lot of sense just because of everything Steven's going through. Greg could feel as if Steven needs more perspective and needs to connect with his family. Not just the crystal gems, but his human family. Those whom Steven never got to meet or know personally. Also, going off this promo image, I feel like this episode is boarded by Amish Kumar. That seems like the way he draws Steven's eyes and hair, and I really love his boarding style. I think he has my favorite teen Vin, to be honest. Like, out of all the Stevens, I feel like his looks the most distinct, where you can recognize this is an older Steven, but it's still Steven. That's not to say the other boarders don't excel at that. I just feel like the shift in eyes and almost, I want to say, I don't know if this makes sense, thicker hair, those are just details that help Steven feel, again, a lot older to me. But now we move on to the other press image, which is interesting to say the least. Confirmed to also be from Mr. Universe, we have Garnet and Little Homeschool, Wind Chimes in the Trees, which I'm assuming is a part of Meatmort, surrounded by 3 chest puffed out, ready to scrap Grass Stevens, whom oddly enough, the hair very much reminds me of the pompadour-esque curls that the quote-unquote cool Steven had from the episode Steven and the Stevens all the way back in season 1. So we can deduce that by the end of the episode, Steven's powers will begin to really screw things up. I feel like this also conveys that all of Steven's powers you've seen him use throughout Future, even if he hasn't necessarily turned pink through them, will end up coming into play in these final episodes, especially because we see him dash through the forest running as fast as Smoky Quartz did. So between that and here, I think we're going to get a full-blown display. And I'm also happy because these last few episodes, I've really enjoyed them. I think they've definitely been some of my favorites out of the entire series, including the original series. But I miss the action because Future was a bit more action-heavy at first than what we were used to. So seeing that action return gets me very excited. Now, if I had to make any guesses, again, still going off the episode title, Mr. Universe, maybe again, if Greg does decide to leave Tor, the Gems and Steven try to help him out by having him put on a show in Little Homeworld. But Steven may be super afraid, oh my god, what if something happens to my dad? Something bad. Because let's face it, Greg's experience around Gems hasn't been pretty. So I can see how Greg putting on a show in Little Homeworld, a place full of gems, would make Steven nervous. So perhaps Steven decides to make these plant Stevens almost as non-gem bodyguards. Greg is the last person Steven has as a guaranteed anchor, words of wisdom that never screw him over. And he wants to protect that. He wants to protect his father. But Steven's paranoia gets the best of him, and these plant Stevens end up not just defending Greg, but inciting a full-on brawl between different gems in Little Homeschool, including the crystal gems. And just this shot of Garnet surrounded by these grass Stevens reminds me of the original Watermelon Steven episode, where the Watermelon Stevens were beating the stuffing out of the crystal gems. We may see a repeat of that here, but also, they're in Little Homeworld, there's an action sequence, and it seems to be driven by Steven's powers. We could finally have the payoff of what Aquamarine said in relation to Little Homeworld burning to the ground, but that could also happen in the finale with corrupted Steven, or never at all. But again, I feel like because the other events happened, it would make sense for this one to happen at some point, especially towards the end. But now, let's shift gears over to Fragments. As I stated in my video yesterday, the climax of Steven Universe Future, it looks like Fragments won't be the Diamond episode, but the episode where things really heat up, and this episode will be where everything just explodes. Because the first promo image we have is Steven in the forest with Jasper walking up the hill, assumably to her cave, and while Jasper only has 2 big boulders, Steven is carrying on his back a ton of them. It looks like Steven's request came true after all. Jasper is gonna train Steven. But how do things get to this point? Well, since it looks like the Crystal Gems are going to combat Steven's creations, I think Mr. Universe will be the breaking point of everything. Although fans who have been on the internet for the last few months already know that. That's all I'm gonna say. And either the end of Mr. Universe or the beginning of Fragments, we'll see the Gems finally confront Steven, and that's where we'll get everything we see in the trailer. Steven and Pearl talking, Steven subconsciously putting a shield up between him and Pearl, Steven yelling, "Leave me alone," cracking windows, cracking mugs, and ultimately running away from the Gems. With nowhere else to go and trying to ensure that he successfully evades the Gems so he wouldn't be going to Little Homeworld, especially after what just happened to Mr. Universe. He wouldn't go to Business Paradise and Lapis, but he does not necessarily want to go to Homeworld yet. Steven goes to the woods. He goes to Jasper. He's emotionally a mess. He keeps screwing things up, and after everything that's happened, he wants to control his pink powers. He knows what emotions they're tied to now. It's just a matter of getting a grip on them, which is why he'll go to Jasper, because all of this pink business started with Jasper. It makes perfect sense. And yeah, carrying boulders up a hill, it's typical training business. And again, as we saw in the promo, they're gonna be punching down trees, Steven potentially blowing off steam. Maybe Jasper needs the wood for something, but I think they're just blowing up trees. And the final press image we actually have is Steven in the forest, glowing pink, looking as if he's talking to someone, likely Jasper, and determined to do something, likely getting a grip of his powers. Now, considering the next episode is Homeward Bound, I want to bring back 2 major theories. One thing I've seen is the idea that in Steven's pocket is Jasper's gem. And I mean, I've seen this for like weeks, like as soon as we got the new trailer. And now that we're actually at this point, I just want to bring up that when Future began, I suggested that Steven could be fighting Jasper and pushing it too far, and he ends up cracking her gem. Like, Steven seriously does a number on her. Some people are going as far to say Steven's going to shatter Jasper, and you know what, at this point, the series is ending next week. Why not have a gem shatter? Why not? Why not have it be my favorite character? I mean, she'll pull through in the end. She'll end up getting pulled back together, so I am on board with that theory to an extent. I don't know if Steven will go as far as to shatter her, but like, his pink powers are out of control. Like, he's trying to get them under control. And with the pattern of Future storytelling and Steven's luck, yeah, it makes sense Jasper would be training him this entire episode, and then at the end she's like, time to put your training to the test. Fight me, don't hold back. And she's saying X, Y, and Z to him. And eventually, what she says goes too far, especially if she brings up Pink Diamond, whom is a huge stressor for both of them. And I can see Steven just clocking Jasper in the face, right in the gem. And then, oh snap, Jasper's gem is broken. Gotta go to Homeworld and fix this. Or, going back to my ultimate corrupted Steven and Jasper theory, they could fight, bond over Pink Diamond, and fuse. And Jasper, still having traces of corruption, passes it onto Steven. His hand starts corrupting, and that's when he runs into the house. He tries healing himself with the incense. It doesn't work. And of course, trying to heal himself of corruption, he would go to the diamonds, since they would be the ones whom he knows can directly heal him. And although I believe she can still have a role to play in the final episodes, any episode would be the Jasper send-off episode. It would be this one. Again, I talked about it in my Climax Steven's Future video. These episodes have been send-offs for a lot of characters. I forgot to mention Together Forever isn't just Connie's send-off. It's definitely like Ruby, Sapphire, and Garnet send-off. So kind of putting her redemption arc of sorts into 11 minutes, or have her not have a redemption arc, but have her get cracked or shattered and poof in something. This would be the time. And I think we're going to get ample amount of Jasper interactions and learning more about her mental state and where her head is at. And on that note, shout out to Ian Jones-Cordy. I admire this man so fucking much, because he revealed that Fragments was loosely based off an idea he had during the original series. And looking at the anime Mr. Jones-Cordy is into, looking at his track record with his own show, with plot lines such as KO spending time with Professor Venomous, I could easily imagine this concept he's referring to being Steven being trained by Jasper for an episode. That seems to be a trope he really enjoys, an antagonist training the protagonist. So Mr. Cordy, Mickey Brewster, Lamar Abrams, those who storyboarded this episode, those who did revisions on this episode, shout out to the revisionist. Thank you for this blessed Jasper content I'm about to receive. I don't care if she explodes into thousands of shards. I don't care if she does a little dance. I don't care if it's her and Steven trying to get into the salty spittoon. Thank you for this Jasper content. I don't care. These 11 minutes are about to feel like the 4 years I've been waiting for this moment. So yeah, that's pretty much that. Didn't really matter. But for Homeworld Bound, alright. This episode was supposed to be attached to the movie. The movie screening is obviously not happening because there's a pandemic happening right as I record this. But the thing is, I think Cartoon Network could still release this episode early on the app. One, thousands of people bought tickets, and now they're not going to be able to see the movie. They're going to be disappointed. Even if they get refunded, it's disappointing, and Cartoon Network probably feels bad for them because this is supposed to be a huge thing for the Steven Universe community. Two, because the diamonds are in this episode, this is definitely going to be the Spinel episode. Spinel is a huge character. And three, everyone's going to be inside, and if this episode is unlocked on the app for free, it's a wrap. So here's what I think's gonna happen. The episode can still just air as a part of the finale, no special fanfare. Yes, I definitely agree. But I think it's likely that after Fragments of Mr. Universe airs, whether if it's alongside them or just the following weekend afternoon, they could drop Homeworld Bound on the app. Maybe they'll do it Sunday, maybe they'll do it Monday, who knows? But at this point, it'd be such a smart move for them that I don't think they pass it up. Think about it, like let's really think about it. A Spinel episode. That's also the first part of the end of Steven Universe. Those two factors alone, on top of the fact that people are looking for good news, we want to feel better at this point with anything. Steven Universe would win the internet for that day. And because I'm sure that'd blow up, clips of it would get millions of retweets, Spinel profile pictures would return everywhere, and Pink White Diamond, that would also be a thing, I assume, in the Homeworld Bound. It would wear so much awareness for the finale that I can see Cartoon Network, on top of everyone already being inside, getting an excellent amount of viewership. Like right now for companies, we're in a time where they look look at these situations, these awful situations, and need to make a positive out of it. And I think releasing Homeward Bound early is definitely a way to do so. It may not happen. I may be totally off. They may just save it. But with everything going on, there is an opportunity here that I'm not sure they're going to pass up. Because again, the original plan was to have the first part of the finale already known to the world beforehand anyways. So why not boost that where it can be out there? And yeah, they weren't able to make their profit off the screening, but they'll get to make up for it when the finale has a surplus of viewers, the highest Cartoon Network has seen since the movie, I imagine. But as always, these are just my thoughts, and I want to hear yours. What do you think? How do you believe Fragments and Mr. Universe will go down? Which episode are you looking forward to the most? And how do you feel about Homeward Bound potentially releasing early? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, or tweet your thoughts at Roundtable Vids. And for more of my own thoughts, you can find me at @OshrickFox. We're also on Instagram. Help Roundtable grow by either becoming a member of this channel or supporting us over at Patreon. Link in the description. If you enjoyed this video, please remember to like and subscribe to the Roundtable for more great cartoon content. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have an awesome day. OshrickFox, signing out.